He thought it was funny, but no one was laughing. In fact, within seconds, an entitled kid's arrogant mistake would silence an entire crowd at the tomb of the unknown soldier. And what happened next? No one could have expected it. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe so you never miss stories like this one. The sun blazed high above Arlington National Cemetery. The white stones stretched endlessly, row after row, a sea of sacrifice. Tourists whispered, hushed by the weight of history. But not everyone respected the silence. Among the visitors stood a teenage boy, maybe 15, wearing an expensive hoodie and snapping selfies with his phone. He was loud, careless, and worst of all, he was laughing. "Bro, this is boring," he muttered to his friends, pointing at the guard pacing back and forth in front of the tomb of the unknown soldier. "It's just some dude walking around in a costume. Big deal." His words drew disapproving glances from the crowd, but the boy didn't care. He smirked, pulled out a soda can, and cracked it open loudly, the sharp hiss echoing across the sacred grounds. Some tourists gasped. An older veteran in the crowd clenched his jaw. He had served, he knew the meaning of silence here. The guard, tall and stone-faced in his immaculate uniform, kept marching, each step precise, each turn sharp as steel. His discipline was unshakable. Or so it seemed. The boy laughed again. "Watch this," he said. And then, unbelievably, he mocked the guard's march, stomping his feet exaggeratedly like it was all some big joke. The crowd froze. Mothers pulled their children close. The veteran's eyes burned with fury. But it was the guard, the sentinel of the tomb, who suddenly stopped. He turned. Slowly. Deliberately. His face unreadable, his voice booming with authority that cut the air like a blade. "It is requested that everyone maintain a respectful silence." The words thundered. The boy's smirk faltered. But instead of stopping, he rolled his eyes. "Relax, dude," he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's not like anyone even knows who's buried here." The silence that followed was suffocating. Every head turned toward the guard. What would he do? Would he break discipline? Would he stay silent? And then, the guard took a single step forward, his eyes locked on the boy. The crowd could feel it. Something was about to happen. The guard's boots struck the stone with an echo that silenced even the birds. His shadow stretched across the marble as he faced the arrogant teenager. The boy laughed nervously, shoving his hands into his hoodie pocket, trying to act unfazed. "What, you gonna arrest me or something?" he sneered, but his voice cracked ever so slightly. The crowd leaned forward. Cameras were raised, breaths held. They knew the sentinels of the tomb were famous for their unwavering discipline. They never broke character. They never faltered. But this time, something felt different. The guard lowered his rifle to his side, not aggressively, but firmly, the polished steel catching the sun. His voice roared again, deep, commanding, impossible to ignore. "You stand on sacred ground. Men and women gave their lives, and you dare mock their memory." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The teen's friends exchanged uneasy glances. A mother whispered to her son, "Watch closely, this is history." The boy tried to laugh it off. "Man, it's just some old tomb. Chill out." But before he could finish, an elderly veteran stepped forward from the crowd. His cane tapped the stone as he approached, his medals glinting faintly under his jacket. His eyes, sharp and filled with decades of memory, locked onto the boy. "You think this is just stone?" the veteran growled. "I lost my brother here. He has no grave, no name, just this monument. And you dare laugh?" The boy's smug grin evaporated. For the first time, his arrogance wavered. The veteran's voice trembled, but it carried the weight of sacrifice, of loss, of something no teenager could ever mock without consequence. The crowd was silent. Even the boy's friends stepped back, ashamed. And then, the guard took another step closer. His boots rang like thunder. He stood inches from the boy now, towering, unblinking. The boy swallowed hard. His hand tightened on his phone. But for once, he had nothing to say. The guard didn't shout this time. His voice dropped low, steady, but cutting deep. "This tomb is guarded. 24 hours a day. In storms. In snow. In the dead of night. Do you think that's for show? No. It's for honor. For respect. For every soldier who never came home. And you will stand here, and you will learn respect today." The boy's face flushed red. His arrogance was cracking, crumbling under the weight of something far bigger than himself. The veteran placed a trembling hand on the guard's arm. "Let me tell him," he whispered. The guard gave a single, sharp nod. The veteran turned to the boy. His voice was softer now, but each word carried the ache of memory. "Do you know what it means to give your life for someone you'll never meet? To never come home? To be forgotten, except for here, this place? That's what you mocked today. The boy looked down. His phone slipped from his hand, clattering onto the marble. The crowd was completely still. And then, someone in the back began to clap. It spread, softly at first, then louder. Not applause for the boy, but for the guard, for the veteran, for the silence reclaimed. The teen stood frozen, humiliated. His arrogance shattered in front of hundreds. But no one yet knew, the guard wasn't finished. He had one final move that would leave everyone speechless. Don't forget, if you love your mom, hit subscribe. If you love your dad, hit like. Let's see which side wins. The air was so heavy, you could almost hear the silence pressing down. The boy stood frozen, eyes darting nervously from the veteran to the guard, to the crowd that was no longer on his side. The guard's gaze was like steel, unflinching. Then, in a move no one expected, the sentinel stepped forward and broke formation. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Guards of the tomb never left their post. It was sacred, unbroken for generations. Yet this one took 3 slow, deliberate steps toward the trembling boy. His boots struck like drumbeats. Each sound echoed history, discipline, sacrifice. He stopped just a foot away, staring straight into the boy's eyes. The boy tried to hold the stare, but his bravado had evaporated. His lips trembled. Only the real ones are still watching right now. Prove it by smashing the like button. And then, the guard did something no one could have predicted. He raised his hand and pointed directly at the marble steps in front of the tomb. The crowd whispered, "What is he doing?" The boy blinked. What? The guard's voice was steady, commanding, unshakable. "Kneel." The word cut through the air like a blade. The boy froze, his pride clawing at him. "Kneel? In front of everyone?" His friends shifted awkwardly, unsure whether to step in or stay silent. The veteran's eyes softened. He whispered, almost pleading, "Son, do it. This is bigger than you." The boy shook his head. "No. I." The guard's voice thundered, sharper now. "Kneel." The entire crowd jumped. The boy's knees buckled under the weight of the command. Slowly, hesitantly, he sank to the ground. The marble was cold beneath him. His hands trembled as he placed them on his lap, his head bowed without even realizing it. The crowd was silent, but the silence was no longer tense. It was reverent, respectful. The guard lowered his rifle, his voice quiet now, but carrying across the gathering. This is where respect begins. Not in words, in humility. The veteran stepped closer, his cane tapping softly against the stone. His voice shook, but it was filled with pride. "Boy, you may not understand now, but one day, you'll know what it means to kneel before sacrifice. To stand for something greater than yourself." The boy's face was pale. His eyes brimmed with something no one expected. Not arrogance, but shame. Regret. And then, the guard did something no one in the crowd would ever forget. He leaned down, just enough so his words would only be heard by the boy. But the veteran, standing closest, caught them, and his mouth fell open in shock. Because what the guard whispered was something that would change the boy's life forever. The guard bent down, his shadow falling across the boy, who was still kneeling, trembling. His lips moved slowly, each word deliberate. "My brother," he whispered, "was your father's best friend. And he died right here." The boy's head shot up, eyes wide. "What?" The crowd murmured, straining to hear. The veteran gasped, clutching his cane tighter. "Oh my God," he whispered under his breath. The guard's voice remained low, but it was as sharp as a blade cutting through stone. "Your father owes his life to the man we buried beneath these stones. And you dare mock his grave." The boy's face drained of color. His throat went dry. "Why you knew my dad?" His voice cracked, no longer defiant, but small. The guard's eyes glistened, but his stare didn't waver. "I didn't just know him. I carried him on my back when he was broken. I kept him alive when he thought he couldn't fight anymore. And your mother?" The boy froze. His heart pounded. "Your mother begged me to watch over you if anything happened to him." The crowd fell into stunned silence. Every person's breath caught in their throat. This was no longer just about respect. It was about blood, sacrifice, legacy. The veteran, tears brimming in his eyes, stepped forward. "Son, do you understand now?" The boy collapsed fully to the ground, his hands covering his face. His sobs echoed in the stillness of the cemetery. The guard did not move. He stood tall, rifle against his shoulder, eyes straight ahead again. His duty was eternal. But in that moment, the boy understood something he never had before. This wasn't just a monument. This wasn't just a guard. This was a promise. A bond forged in blood and sacrifice. The crowd erupted in soft applause. not for the boy's shame, but for the lesson that had just been carved into his soul. The veteran placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, his voice breaking. Never forget, respect is not given because you want it. It's earned by honoring those who gave everything. The boy looked up through tear-stained eyes at the guard. He whispered, barely audible, I'm sorry. And for the first time that day, the guard gave the slightest nod. Not approval, not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. The lesson was complete. The boy would never forget it. And neither would anyone who stood witness that day. Don't forget, if you love your mom, hit subscribe. If you love your dad, hit like. Let's see which side wins.